Nice to meet you all again, everybody. You all have a blessed day, and thank you for having me here again. So today we are going to focus on how we can create students and lessons for remote study with students, specifically for interpreting reports and data, as well as use other analytic system, as well as what are the best use case scenarios for lessons and assessments in remote learning. Okay, so before I start the session today, focusing for most of you to get a bit of an example of how remote lesson works, I would like to raise any questions first that we can cover on the start first, especially regarding our last session. So I think most cases in our last session, we cover a little bit on creating a D assessment with the use of our AI feature, as well as a little bit on creating presentations. So I would like to ask maybe to teachers who have a bit of a progress in creating any examples, or you found any difficulty in the process, can share in the chat box so we could answer any current inquiries before we move on further. Okay, I think last time we covered a lot on the AI creation, and to those who have tried out with their own resources, let's say PDF materials or worksheets that teachers might have, can also be allowing for others to join in as well. Okay, you could please share your concerns or any parts that I might have missed on our last session before we move on forward today. I think we also cover a little bit on the different question types previously as well. All right. Okay. If there's no any questions yet, don't hesitate to ask questions throughout the session because I'm here to help if there's any inquiries on your end when using our platform. All right. So previously, I have shown you the examples of what presentation would look like. So today I will be bringing you along to actually try how presentation works in remote learning and how you can ensure that your students are able to exercise new topics, new subjects, as well as having discussion sessions throughout the lesson. Okay, I have shared with you in the chat box a link to join, or if you prefer to join by your mobile devices, please scan the QR code up front. If both of them are are you're unable to, you can also type in joinmyquiz.com and enter the code. Right? All right then. So I think I've also turned on the gamified session today. So if you were to edit or customize your character, please feel free to do so. Okay. So you for presentation specifically, you can create it with multiple different slides, or if you start creating it from scratch, you could also do so with Wayground, and as well as importing your current PDF or any slides that you have. And our newest feature is that we also have the pause button. And let's say you are conducting a very long study material specifically on a topic and it has, let's say, 34 different slides and multiple different questions to answer. And in one teaching session, it might not be enough for the students to cover the whole topic. We can even enable the pause activity and moving forward to the next session. All right, I think most teachers have joined. To those who still haven't joined in yet, you could join by the invitation code I've sent in the chat box. All right. then we can start our session today. All right. So if you notice, in the first case, let's say you will have an introduction of a presentation or whether it be any slides and etc. Okay. And now we continue to the next slide. Now, so let's say you want students to be ensured that they are actually focusing in the class. We can have the eyes up front. So we are unable to continue to the next part of the session unless students are all eyes up front. So if I click this automatically, it will send notifications on your devices respectively and showing eyes up front to capture the student's attention. Okay, so let's say we want a discussion goes both ways with students. And if we were to choose a student randomly, I think some student might not find it fair. So we'll have the spin the wheel with us. How about I ask the spin the wheel to spin a random student, and the lucky teacher will have to turn on their microphone and share their opinions about the current slide. Okay, the line is pointing to Vader. Oh, is this Darth Vader? Okay, is Teacher Vader joining today's session? So I could have in the meeting, let's say, Vader, please raise your hand, or Vader, are you available in the class? Some sort like that. So I'm asking if Teacher Vader is joining today's session. Okay, don't be shy. It's just a simple session that I'd like to ask. So for Vader, I would like to ask you, okay, a student has raised their hand. I think I'm seeing in my screen, a student has raised their hand. Okay, perfect. So I think Vader is joining today's session. So Vader, can you turn on your microphone and tell me what you know about Leonardo da Vinci? Something like that.
Yeah, sorry. Actually, I'm doing some design here. Okay, Leonardo da Vinci is like for the fine art artist, if I'm mistaken. Yeah. Uh, sorry. Actually, I'm doing design because I do two screen here. Okay. Yeah, I'm a lecturer of the arts, right? So this
Mm.
one is like for the what we call. I'm not sure. Is that right? Zone is something like for the portrait, and then that one is like I'm not sorry. Suddenly, I get confused about this one. This one is like more into the invention of the human figure drawing. If I'm second. Oh yeah,
Mm.
that's all.
Okay, thank you so much. And yeah, that is how we can engage with students through our presentation here in Wayground, because ah, that is how we can cover a little bit with spin the wheel as well as eyes up front. Okay, and in our news features, there's supposed to be a pause button as well. So over here, so pause presentation. So let's say you want to pause the session and later get back into the session again for long presentation lessons. You can also pause that. And let's say I want students to circle or interact with the slides. So I'll go over to click whiteboard and show the current slides and allow students to draw, or either to upload images as well. So if I were to upload images, or let's say the image is already on the presentation slide itself, you can ask your student, please draw, please write a line, please draw a shape, an equation, or an answer of some sort within that specific slide. So if any teachers are joining in who focus on engineering designs, diagrams, or architectural designs, and you want students to understand each part of that specific diagram or chart or any other resources that you would like to use for students to understand an image, you can use this whiteboard feature to interact with them. Okay, so I would like to ask all the teachers joining the Wayground session to circle what are the drawings that he have made from the writing. So let's say it's just an example. No need to Wayground session
So maybe
to
I just a
circle
simple
what
or
are
maybe a
the
simple
highlight would suffice, or let's say a circle. Please go ahead and interact with the slides on your own screen because I have sent out allowing to draw. Okay, I notice here, teacher Izayana. Ah, so I zoomed in into your whiteboard. Okay, this specific student is working on this part on the slides. So we can keep student's name as anonymous or later view student's name as a whole. Okay, so I have teacher T right here. Thank you. All right, teacher Miza. Like so. And you could also type in other needs. Let's say if it's for mathematical equation and you want your student to answer a simple equation or even an advanced or even Greek or even the basic equation that you would like to answer. So these are the buttons below that in the equation that is using LaTeX. So even for calculative and counting questions can be used. And we have multiple different shapes, let's say for arrows, or even writing the text, answer, and etc. So all of these are possible within our whiteboard feature. All right, I think here, teacher Nurunajwa, you have tried circling and other attempts. So let's say it is a blank slide. Let's say the slide that you import is a blank slide with your students. Let's say have them do it simple instructions or answer the questions that is on that slide is also possible. Okay. Okay. I think this is from Teacher Dean. He also introduced dynamic geometry in many invention. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's a really wonderful information. But yeah, so this is one way that you can have interactions one by one with your students, and you can check them one by one, each student's progress, okay, on this whiteboard, this student's whiteboard, one by one and up until the end. So you can see if any of the students who haven't attempted with to draw within the whiteboard. Okay. Okay. I'll get back and we can close this session. Okay, so that is the whiteboard. And we'll go to the next question. Okay, this is just a simple simulation of how it would look like. So I could see the whole students, those who have answered, those who haven't answered. I can easily call that student out if they haven't answered yet. Or if you want to ensure that presentations are fast, and let's say to not waste much time specifically on answering questions, you could always allow the question timer. Let's say for this specific answer, you just need 1 minute, or you're afraid that some students might having a connection delay, we can, let's say, limit it up to 2 or 3 minutes. So it always comes back to the teachers and the trainers itself on how would they control the pacing of the students. That is how presentation works. We want the teachers be able to, the trainers or teachers to be able to see the pacing and see the progress overall. Okay. I think this is also mentioning about our session last time about our anti-cheating monitor is also available in the presentations. So not only we can keep anti-cheating at the assessment level, we can also have it at the presentation level. So I can check here. Who are the students? What are their alerts? So I can notice here, ANJ spent 3 minutes outside the Wayground tab of some sort. Okay. So all of these are instant alerts with our AI, sorry, with our anti-cheating monitor. Okay. So I can always check those who have submitted and those are still attempting. Okay. And I can check the responses. So 11 have been attempted. Okay, 10 students haven't attempted yet. All right. So I will end the question. So we could go on to the next part. Okay, some sort like this. So you will always get instant report on how the students answer in each presentation, because that is what it functions for. After each explanation of a new topic, you can check students' understanding by following it up with a presentation. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, we have Isaac Newton on the next part. So this is just a simple try, so don't need to answer perfectly. It's all right. Okay, but of course, he is the man who discovered gravity, and yeah, from his from his discovery, he really made important laws about how things move. I think we covered a little bit on creating the presentation of his topic a week ago. All right. And another thing about the presentation session, before we have a whiteboard, we have clicked whiteboard to collaborate with students, but we could also have for annotate. Okay, so they can also access the annotate on their screen, some sort like this. So if you as a trainer want to explain specifically on one specific slide and annotate it, you can use the annotate button. So it's a bit different compared to the whiteboard session, because in whiteboard we can collaborate with students and have them also have annotations on their screen. Okay. I think this is another example question specifically for fill in the blank. So these are just a discovery of some question type that I can provide, but please continue to explore even further for Wayground's question type, specifically with topics that correlates to what you are teaching for. Right?
Sharira, this
Yes.
feature is not having a ladder
Sorry?
for the ranking for the student answering to
Mhm.
see their ranking.
We can.
Sharira, this
It's at the
feature
end of
is
the
not
session
having
for the
a
leaderboard.
ladder. Oh, okay.
Sorry? But if you'd like to turn that feature off, it's also possible in the settings.
Yeah, sometimes a student eager to join or to get involved this activity when they see their progress or to compare with. Yeah, just also for fun.
Yes, we can always have it. I think because leaderboard in here specifically accumulates for the whole part, I think we can check at the end of the session right now. Okay, so we'll have a bit unique about fill in the blanks specifically for questions that have varied answers with presentations. We can turn off the names and check students' responses one by one. Okay, I can see here that most students have answered gravity. Okay, some mention gravity theory, etc. So these are all live feedback data on students' progress. You can show the names, show the answers, or even show the answers and without showing the names. Okay, and can have a short discussion moment. So it will pause the whole session and have a thorough discussion with students as well. Okay. I'd like to end the question on this side. Okay, here is the leaderboard, like what we've mentioned before. I think as of now, our highest rank is teacher T, second teacher Din, and third teacher Suryati. And we can skip that. But I think at the end of our session, we're going to have another leaderboard because it all accumulates on the progress of the answering session. Okay, and if some cases that some students are having connection difficulty and they mentioned that I haven't Sir, Miss, I haven't finished answering my question. Can we restart the question? Don't worry. It's also possible. So we can restart the whole question and have students who haven't attempted be able to get the chance in answering the questions. Oh, like so. Okay. All right, perfect. I'll end the question so we could cover the next part. Oh, sorry. All right. And then the next one is for James Watt, the steam power guy. So of course, his steam engine, he didn't specifically invent the steam engine, but he improved it to make it much more powerful and useful. And because of that, it helped run factories, trades, and ships during the Industrial Revolution. That's why we still use watt today as a unit to measure electricity. All right. So I think we already covered a little bit on annotate, whiteboard, spin the wheel, and eyes up front. So let's say at nearing to the end of the session, teachers would like for students to finish the remaining questions on their own. We can even switch it to the student-based mode. So, but before that, I'd like to mention that we also have for classroom pulse. Same with the provide supports method that we cover last time, where we can see students' progress in deeper details. Okay. Over here, I can check if any students are having low accuracy levels, which one who have raised their hands, all students, or up to the highest. So, okay. So whether I'd like to add any needs of accommodation specifically to a student is also possible with the classroom pulse. So we can have these two different slides altogether. So first, share the presentation with the whole class, or you don't have to as well, because in presentation, students will also have their own slides as well. But I think it's best to also share the screen and keep the classroom pulse as private. So only for you to check the student's personal percentage, progress overall, and add any accommodations whenever necessary. Okay, we'll get back. All right. All right. How did James Watt improvements to the steam engine impact the Industrial Revolution? So this is like we have discussed before, another open-ended question types where it can vary between students' answers. And we could always check the review overall to show answers. And I think for open-ended answers is very powerful with presentations because it really tests out students, whether they actually understand what teachers and trainers have explained. Okay. And previously, I have also set up the AI enabling the AI auto evaluation. So later there's no need for me to score students manually one by one for their individual scores. I just have the evaluation rubric in an instant to auto AI analyze all students' answers. Okay. And let's say you want to ensure that students really grasping further after each question, you could always add AI explanations. So after they give their answers, an AI explanation pop-up will show and have students to double check if their answers are actually correct or for them to understand further. And I'll also show you a little bit on how we can enable that. Okay. But since it is an open-ended question, I'll give a little bit of few more time. But If you as a teacher feel that it might waste a bit of time for waiting for students answer, you can always add what I've mentioned before, a question timer. Okay, I think we can check the responses. Okay, so we can notice here various of different students have give their answers. Makes steam engine more powerful and efficient, help in factory operations, and etc. Okay, all right. So we don't take too much time in here. I think I'll give a couple of more seconds before I end the question. So that is how, or in the middle of waiting for other students to answer, as a teacher, you can always review help in factory operations. Okay, that is interesting, and etc. Or we can end the question and start a discussion as well. Like to end the question, and we'll have discuss. Okay, turn up eyes up from. So let's say after a question has finished and you want to make sure that everyone is on the same page of the question, you can have a bit of a pause and have students to check the eyes up front and answer the questions on the screen. So we can check, let's say we'll have a simple discussion and have this have the teacher explain and answer a specific question and before we move on to the next part. Okay. All right. Okay, I think I'd like to end the presentation because we have covered all parts of the presentation. And let's say congratulations to Teacher Din as third rank, second rank ANJ, and first rank Ko. Okay. And like always, every resources or every activities that you have conducted with your students, you will always get instant reports and feedback. So how you can make data-driven decision in the future, focusing on your students' responses. Okay, I do have to apologize that I think there is a bit of an issue in my account. It went back to basic, but that's all right. We can still cover about the important details today as well. All right. So why it is important to interpret reports and data to inform instructions as well as deeper analytics and insights to make further decisions after each progress of activities is here. We can check here, quick action, help 7 low performing students with accommodations. So this is how it's important to check students' individual progress, even at the middle of the sessions or after the whole session. So I can check here, the student, especially if the students are already connected into a LMS that you create, sorry, into a class that you create here with Wayground, it's much easier for you to further check their improvements as well as any accommodations that you have set up to that student specifically. Okay, over in here, I can check Nur Afika. I can add accommodations and set up for them individually. Okay, right at the moment. I do have to apologize that there has been of an issue with my on my end with with my account, but it's all right. I will not use that to hinder today's session. So you could always check your reports and have accommodations be set up through these recommendations from Wayground. All right. And you can always see which question do those students specifically struggle on. So you can either focus on giving them extra time or we can consider that, okay, this specific student really answers this question longer than their peers. So I believe adding extra time for questions, or either limiting the answer choices specifically for them, or even giving out hints to those students specifically, and other use cases of accommodations. Like always, since accommodations can easily be set up in an instant, after you give the students accommodations to their email directly, they will automatically have these accommodations for future sessions. All right.
Sharira, how can we save all the activity that we already conducted just now?
Mhm. The reports or the activity that you create.
So it means including a student on annotation, or student give feedback onto the slide. That's right.
Mhm. Mhm. As of now, we are still moving to upgrade our saving annotations in our feature. But as of now, annotations are specifically still in the sessions. So it's not recorded as of now. But we are moving forward that as an update in uh, moving forward to back to school sessions, sorry, back to school year, specifically for downloading the annotations or feedbacks given inside the slides. But as of now, it's still not recorded. Thank you for your question for that. And other than that, I'd like to move forward for the accommodations. So far, in terms of the different kinds of accommodations available here in Wayground, are there any questions that you might like to ask specifically for different accommodations, and what do they focus on, and what do they function as? Okay. But I think we did cover for presentations before. Two of our accommodations only suitable for presentation method. So the reading mode over here. Okay. So it helps students for extra help for the reading, things through visually, as well as notes to refer right over here. So students can even create a bit of a notes to refer to themselves. Or you can automatically set up these notes or reading mode to all of the students joining to that session specifically for presentations. Okay. In other cases of accommodations and support, you can easily click and give to those students' emails in an instant. Okay, just a couple clicks away. All right, so that is for accommodations. So a little bit on the overview, we can check the overview overall, or for participants. Okay, for participants, and okay, all right. So if we remember previously, for evaluate, we could always check for students' progress one by one, as well as checking the open-ended answers, how AI analysis are given through each answer, like we did in the previous session with the question about how to ensure that uh, private data is not written down when using AI digital tools safely. So each students will have their own AI analysis feedback depending on how you can create the evaluation rubric. But as of now, I think I have a bit of an issue on my account, but don't let that hinder you. So always use the evaluation really broadly, because it will always give any important detail for students, because not only it will show how students are answering, but it also shows how long does the student answer the question, because that is where we can make the decision either to give the support or accommodations to that specific student, changing the questions and other supports and needs. All right. Okay. Or we'd like to assign it as homework, or the live dashboard itself, and etc. All right, so that is a little bit on our activity for presentations today. Are there any questions as of now, specifically for using presentations and lessons in class, ensuring deeper understanding and discussion within new materials and topics? Okay, I'd like to check to the chat box if any of our trainers write down a sample question. All right. If there's none, I think I'd like to also cover a little bit more on the different assignments, specifically for covering about simulations and passages. So previously, we have discussed about how we can create a resource using passages. So whether you'd like to create with our AI, because creating passages with the AI specifically for topics can use sources as well. So can any trainers, any teachers joining today's session share a example topic that you teach in class? So I could use an example using the generate passage. So project management. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Teacher Hamiza. So I'll just write down here. And you could always describe even further whether would you like to use any specific words. Okay, of course, let's change the preference. And of course, nonfiction, and always change the grade for university, professional development, or vocational training, and specifically a subject for, okay, wait a moment. E6 provisioning, project management, right? Let me check one by one because we have quite a lot of, okay, would project management lies under business, right? Probably compound events. Okay. Is compound events written down here? The moment.
That's a different.
Oh, yes.
I think that's the different topic.
Okay. Or should we, or probability of compound events? Oh, okay. I think that is an example from a different teacher. Okay. But I think for project management, uh, can Teacher Hamiza help to confirm for which subject does it lie on?
Maybe construction.
Construction? Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, I think we can choose number of paragraphs and make sure to use these use the resources, so you could always double check how the passage are resources. Okay, I think we can enter extra topics. I'd like to make the quality control. Okay, text management. Okay, these three topics I will choose, and our Wayground will analyze it and create the passage based out of what topics that you have written down. Thank you so much for sharing an example topic, Teacher Hamiza. And I'd like to show how our passage or how our AI works is that they will only be taking passages or taking resources only specifically for education, only from trusted accounts or trusted websites. Okay, so something like here, if I click over to the first link, okay, All right, it's taken from Project Management Institute, or let's say from the second link. Okay. So you could always double check whether these resources are suitable to your reading topic. Okay. And if you would like to add extra resources, please go ahead, because later on the passage will regenerate when you add a resource. Okay. Whether you like to add a resource or delete the previous one, okay, you can remove and regenerate that. So that is how our passage works, specifically with the use case of AI, if you'd like to focus on reading and analytical sessions with students. Because in here, you can, like before, add extra resources to make the reading more suitable to your topic. And if you're satisfied, you can click continue, and afterwards, okay, we'll have the Wayground AI to also generate questions based out of the passage, right? Okay, there's a notification of that, don't worry. Okay, and there you go. So like always, in most cases, when you are generating questions based out of the AI, it always kickstarts as a MCQ at first, but you could always change the multiple choice questions into a fill in the blank. Let's say like that. Stakeholders engagement plan, or even change it to open-ended like before. Okay. Change these kinds of questions to open-ended, as well as enabling the auto AI evaluate. Since it is for reading passage, the auto evaluate will work a little bit different, because we can check if the students are using the specific words that you want them to. Let's say you're practicing a theory and you want the students to actually mention this specific theory in their critical thinking answers. You can also write down for that. But for the examples I will show before, specifically about project management, we'll go to constructions, control it, let's say, to 5 points, and use default, because before we already have our previous answer, or generate a new one with the help of our AI. Okay. And you can write down here to ensure that students are actually using that specific words within the passage. Okay, and if you're satisfied, save and enable that. And I'd like to mention as well, if you'd like to add answer explanations, you could always add answer explanations right over here. Okay. And save that. And if you're satisfied, just easily publish it. Okay. Apologies for that. I think there's still some issue with my account, but that's all right. Okay. So that is for the passage where we can create passage with the help of the AI resource. Or in other case, you would like to add your own textbooks or materials, you can always click bring your own. Okay, I will do an example for upload from my own device. Okay. Maybe this PDF right here. So if you want students to do self-reading or self-practice at home, especially for remote practice, and assign it as a homework, you can always have these examples as well. Okay. You can have the student either read a diagram, read a PDF. Okay. Apologies for that. I think there's a bit of an issue on my end as well. Okay, coming back to discussion of using PDF passage. So later your students can have the PDF be imported to the Wayground on the left side, and ensure that they can find instructions, answer questions on the right side as well. Like so. Or if there's questions directly within the PDF, you can extract questions with AI or even generate with new ones. Okay. Or if you prefer to use simulations, as I have mentioned before, within Wayground, it is also possible. So over to create a resource, click passage, bring your own, and embed websites. Yes? Okay. All right. And have the simulations, or in this case, I use a Desmos calculator embedded to Wayground. So later, students can follow in instructions that you have specifically for an equation. They will do it on the left side. So over here, there's no need for them to open into a new tab. They can directly just use Wayground to follow the instructions that you have said, that you have mentioned within the directions of the questions. And later, they will find the answers and do the simulations by themselves. So if you use, for examples, FAT for physics education technology, that is also another good way or example of using simulation links as of this. Oh, sorry about that. Let me stop sharing and share once more. Yeah. So if you were to prefer using either Desmos calculator or FAT, those are your choices. Okay. Are there any questions up to this point? Okay. Are there any questions up to this point of the session? So today we cover quite a lot specifically for data and resources, as well as to create more engaging and interactive sessions through presentations and further analytical checking and analytical checking and critical thinking on students' own pacing, either by PDF, textbooks, or workbooks, as well as simulation links. Okay. Think we'll raise any questions to those who have any inquiries specifically for today's feature. Don't hesitate to share your concerns. And I think another concern with, let's say, analytical reports and checking. So not only we'll have the sessions itself. Okay, this is what we covered a little bit on last time. So not only we will always get instant reports on the sessions over here, whether it be the resource types, all reports, all classes, and filter it by date that have been conducted with your students. You could always check from the students page on which classes that you have connected to, whether you create a new class within Wayground. So to roster your students' email much easier later on. So you can easily assign the Wayground activity to a class and see their progress on the long term. All right, I think there is another issue with my account of view, but I think we have covered for this last time. But for now, are there any questions in terms of creating the resources specifically for presentations as well as passage. Okay. So I really suggest in using presentations because that is one of our most powerful feature in terms of interactive learning with lessons. Okay. Are there any other questions up to this session? Okay. Or is there any specific inquiries that you would like for me to showcase in our last session in a couple more weeks? Okay. If there's none, I will stop presenting my screen. And I would like to ask Mr. Rosali.
Okay, yes, Ira.
Okay. Are there any questions on your end as well?
Yeah, so I will ask them. So is there any questions so far? From on the floor? Is there any things that need to be look on? Yeah, so I think there is no question so far. So we come to the end. Yeah, so it's 4 o'clock. So thank you so much, Ira. So
Thank you so
I will
much.
share also this training session for those who cannot attend completely on this 1 hour session. And then we're looking forward for our next coming on 25th.
25th, sorry.
Yeah, 25th February. So now we are collecting, I think already almost about 100 plus student teachers are already registered. So we're waiting for it. So, and then I will keep, is it you also will deliver on that training session?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Namrata has informed me previously.
Yeah, okay.
And if there's any questions that have been raised by teachers from today's session up to the 25th later on, because I think it's still in a couple of more weeks upcoming. So yeah, you can also collect the questions and either send it to me directly so we can start the sessions with any concerns from the teacher side.
Okay, great. So actually, I already I already informed to all the academic staff or teachers that I already rostered them to all the premium account, but there might be some of teacher not familiar with the Wayground. So yeah, I will keep updating what the importance of Wayground, etc. for them. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for
Well,
today.
thank you
I
so
will
much. Thank you,
also
Ira.
share example resources
Yeah,
that we
great.
have provided so for teachers can take any inspirations from there.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thank you so much
Ira.
for having
Thank you.
me today and have a
Bye-bye.
great and blessed day. Bye bye.